This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the TWSN Tailgate Show. I am Matt Levine, joined by my co-host, Josh Northcutt. It's another great week of college football. We got NFL starting today, but for now, we're going to talk some college football because that's what's actually going on. That's what we care about right now, right, Josh? Like,
absolutely.
NFL doesn't start till Sunday. We have through the weekend to get to that. We don't care. I don't care about the Cowboys and Eagles. I don't care about that. It's college football time, right? How you doing today, Josh?
Doing well, man. I am a little excited about the NFL being back, though.
I am too.
Yeah, more excited for tomorrow's game, the Chargers and Chiefs, being that I am a hardball guy myself. But as for tonight's game, I can care less, as you mentioned. It is what it is. But that's enough about the NFL. It is all about college football. And what a week one we had. We thought Farmageddon, zero, just gave us a taste of what we would have planned for week one. And it was phenomenal from start to finish every single day.
Every day. And we're going to start this show by going back a little bit. We're going to go into reverse here for a second. We're going to talk about last week just for a little bit, then we'll get into the games going on here. But first, we're going to start out with, every week on the show, we do a pick-em of 6 games that we talk about, we highlight, right? We want to look at what we got right and what we got wrong. And we're not going to talk about this, but I have to admit, I messed up. I messed up last week. It was not good for me. I went 1-5. That was a poor week for myself. I will admit, I'm not afraid to come on here and say this. But yeah, what did you think about our picks, Josh? Just quickly before that we can get into our actual takeaways from the actual week.
Yeah, 4-2 wasn't too bad. The 2 I missed were, the one I thought it was a gimme, as we'll talk about once we get to that game and how wrong I really was about it. But that LSU Clemson game was a toss-up. We talked about it on the show, and we talked about it off air. We just didn't know what LSU team would show up. And kind of the good one, the 68 overall or 68 on the first day exam.
Yeah, I don't know what Dabo was talking about there. I honestly, I loved the fact that Brian Kelly kind of went back at him and was like, I don't know if he watched the game or maybe he didn't want to watch it. So we have within a week of college football, we have spicy Brian Kelly. And that is what we want. That is what I want as an LSU fan. I want spicy Brian Kelly throughout the rest of the season. That would be incredible. His sound bites are awesome. Regardless, win, lose, it doesn't matter. His sound bites are awesome. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves to clown him. Everyone loves to praise him when he wins. It's a weird situation with Brian Kelly. But you're correct. That was an interesting game, and I don't understand what Dabo is talking about. But, that's Dabo. He's been doing this for years. But before we get into any, full takeaways, is there anything you need to say here to me? Because I was calling you out. I was calling you out all last week leading up to our pick, saying you're going to be wrong. You're going to do this. Anything just for the viewers, just before we get to our takeaways here.
Yeah, I guess my first question would be: do you want to hear about how I was right about Auburn or how I was right about Utah? Actually, I'm not going to give you the option. What happened to UCLA? Did they not just get smacked?
No, we're not. No, we are not. I refuse to talk about the Bruins because the one time in my life I decided to be nice to them, to be nice to this program, they let me down, and I'm never hyping the Bruins up ever again in my life.
I tried to tell you, it just, the history was there. Utah smacks them in the mouth, and I'll tell you right now, Devin Dampier is 100% a Heisman sleeper right now. 2 passing, 2 rushing, 200 in the air. I want to say 100 plus on the ground. That man was phenomenal. But again, it was UCLA. So we'll see what happens from there. He's going to face some tougher defenses in the Big 12. And speaking of the Big 12, Mr. Sawyer Robertson, I'm only talking to you, nobody else here. I apologize. I did not know your game. Phenomenal game. It sucks you didn't have a run offense or defense. Yeah. The reason why you watched defense. Jackson Arnold, welcome to what we all thought you would be at Oklahoma, running all over the place. Passing, we could use a little bit more. Get your wide receivers involved. But, man, what a game by Auburn. It was a 14-point game, but it was much bigger blowout than that.
I'm going to take some credit because I did put Auburn into the college football playoff. So regardless of the result from last week, I was going to come out a winner in my eyes, at least. I thought Baylor might have needed the game a little more just because Auburn has more of a chance to get bigger wins throughout the season. But that was an impressive showing by Auburn. Baylor let me down. We'll talk about Baylor in a little bit. But let's get into some of these takeaways, right? We had this incredible slate of games last week. Top matchups, as we kind of talked about to open the show. Let me just ask you this. What is your biggest notable outcome, your biggest takeaway from last week? If you just had to pinpoint one of them, if you can only pinpoint one, I mean, there were so many.
I'm going to say I got two, and I'm going to cheat on this one. The one is the obvious. The Alabama dynasty is dead. Malik talked about it today on his own show, and he said that is not the Alabama that is not the team he was a fan of. DeBoer has made that defense go soft. I want to say it's Emmanuel Echo or Sam Echo. I always forget which Texas linebacker it is because I swore there was two of them, but he did a breakdown, and the defensive players are jogging to the ball. That is not Alabama football, and they give up that many yards to Tommy after he talked all that crap all off season. Yeah, that's not our Alabama. The 20-year dynasty is officially dead. And it'll be interesting to see if the boosters can come up with $70 million to get DeBoer out of there, because I don't think you can.
Now, so one game kills Alabama.
Yeah, but it's not even one game. They're 5-5 in their last 10.
They are, but this is a top recruiting class this year coming into. Are we sure it's not just the quarterback here? Granted, I know the defense looked kind of lazy at times, but like maybe it was they got a little cocky entering that game. Everything was going against Florida State. Everyone was like hyping Alabama up. They're going to crush them, right? I'm not fully out on Alabama just yet. I need to see the rest of the season how that plays out.
So I saw the stat. Only 5 Power 4 defenders recorded 6 or more pressures in week 1. 2 of them played for Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State's defense was electric. I'm not taking anything away from Florida State. Like that game, that's from the second you sat down to watch, from the opening kickoff, you kind of saw that they were going to win the game. Just they outmanned Alabama. But I'm not out on Alabama just yet. I think they're going to turn it around. And they may not win the championship, but I think they're going to turn it around this year. That's me. I want to ask you about this because this is one of the biggest topics throughout the entire week. What happened with Arch Manning, right? Ohio State's defense shut him down. I mean, granted, look, Texas's defense played pretty damn well also. Let's not forget that Ohio State only won by a touchdown. It's not like they blew him out. It's not – if Arch just plays a little better, maybe Texas wins the game. I know Ohio State fans are riding the wave right now of the win, and rightfully so. You beat the number 1 team, blah, 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 whatever. You guys didn't play that well either. Granted, that might have just been both teams being really good. What was your overall take from that game?
My takeaway is that I don't think either one of those 2 teams are national championship contenders, and I know that's a very hot take. But I've been trying to tell you all now for 2 weeks. This is now so technically our 3rd show. Texas is not making a college football playoff, and I haven't changed my mind on this. However, you can't underestimate the pressure of going on the road in an atmosphere that was that. And you even throw in the Corso thing where everybody in Ohio State loves Corso. It just had a lot against Arch. The play calling definitely did not help, as I watched Bill Sparks comment about it on Malik's show. It was pathetic play calling. Watching that tape back and just being like, where are we throwing the football? So I don't know if that's on Sark or if that's on the wide receivers not being able to get open. But I had a lot of questions when it comes to that. Props to Ohio State, as you mentioned, though. The defense looked phenomenal. But I'm not here to say Julian Sayin can win them a national championship. I don't believe he can right now. So we'll wait and see. Again, that was his first career start also, and that's a very good Texas defense. So
I thought he looked pretty good though against a very good Texas defense. I honestly think that Texas's defense kind of shut down Ohio State a little bit. If you're being honest, Ohio State came in with all the talk leading up to the game. Ohio State has all these offensive playmakers, all these weapons. They held them to 14 points?
Yeah.
In their own building?
Yeah.
I'm not out on Texas just yet. I think Manning's going to be fine. Everything was going against him in that game, as you said. I'm not worried about him. That guy's going to be okay. I think Texas will bounce back, and we're all going to look back at this game, and we're going to be like, what happened? Because I think at the end of the day, Texas is going to be better than Ohio State, at least record-wise.
Would it really surprise you when it's all said and done, though, that these two teams play again in January?
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And honestly, I'm here for it. As long as it's not a national championship game, I don't care.
I agree.
That's just me. That's just a bias. I don't need that happening. We don't want that. No one really wants that. Just no. One thing I wanted to ask you, in the bigger games, right? Defense kind of prevailed, right? Like we saw these low scoring outcomes. You know, we saw Clemson LSU 17-10. We saw obviously Texas and Ohio State 14-7. Is this going to be a defensive year? Because this is something I've been thinking about all week. Is this going to be one of those years where defense just is king, right? And every year it's offenses and that's what sells. But you know what? I want some nitty gritty defensive football. That's what I want. I love when there's a 10-10 type of game and a field goal wins the game. I love it because it really shows who can focus and use the X's and O's to win the game. Am I crazy or what's going on? Because all four of these teams had explosive offenses and they all kind of sucked this weekend.
I mean, you're not wrong. That was one of the things that if you watch the Notre Dame Miami game, Herb Street mentioned is that are you surprised by the three games that were highlighted all weekend were so low scoring? The Miami Notre Dame game got a little bit up there towards the end, but I don't think so because these teams know how to recruit defense, and it's a little bit different than some of these teams that just have the mindset, well, we need to outscore everybody. They want to play both ends of the football, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC. But I think that was more just the type of things that we were seeing with these teams. And we're still going to get these high-scoring game affairs that we all love also.
Maybe like a feeling out weekend kind of, week one, hype everywhere, don't want to make a mistake kind of situation.
It was almost as if every quarterback was basically told, don't go lose the game. Yeah. You just play safe football, don't lose us the game, and we'll try to win it on defense. Because there was some downfield shots. Obviously, Ohio State's touchdown came that way. I was going to say Ibuka, but it wasn't. It was Carnell Tate. Yeah. Got that deep touchdown pass, which was a phenomenal throw. But it just seems a lot of safer calls on the offensive end because, unfortunately, in 2025, we all enjoy these games, but none of the teams that lost this weekend are out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the expanded playoffs. One game doesn't kill your whole season anymore, which is kind of nice. But I want to talk about some players who impressed us this week because there was a lot of performances, right? I'll let you go first because I don't believe we have the same person. So who impressed you? What was your impressive performance of the weekend, I guess?
I'm going to cheat on this, and I'm the conductor of the Rocco Beck Heisman candidate train. The man had one incomplete pass in a game. I don't care who you're playing. That is phenomenal in a Division I football game.
Yeah. No, he was great. And, we'll talk more about him in a little bit here, but I'm going to highlight Jordan Dwyer, TCU. Man, we have to talk about Belichick for a second because I honestly don't understand what happened to Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. They go up early in that game, right? All the momentum, everything is bearing down on TCU in that stadium. That stadium's rocking. We haven't seen that stadium that loud for a long time, right? And then TCU drops the sledgehammer. Okay. And it all started with Jordan Dwyer, in my opinion. He set the tone. He helped them bounce back, and then they just never let go from there. I was so impressed with this guy. I mean, coming over from Idaho, he comes over. He's going to be one of their main options, and he showed out for this team. And you mentioned it a couple weeks ago. TCU could be a sleeper. If they play like they did the other night, I know it was against North Carolina. I know North Carolina has a lot of issues, but they could be a real sleeper here.
I myself forgot. They won 9 games last year. That means they were right there in the race. They were right there in the race. They just had to make one play here or there and not slip up. It was absolutely phenomenal. That entire offense.
It looked great. It was fun to watch. And they embarrassed Bill Belichick. Just embarrassed him in his college debut. And now he knows how most NFL teams felt when they played him. So, it will humble him. I think he'll be okay. It will humble him a minute. Everyone's talking about how he should be fired, all this, and he shouldn't be fired. Let's let this play out. Let's see how he does first.
And then one more person I wanted just to throw out there. Another running quarterback, didn't have such a great passing day, but came up big in a victory out in Colorado. Haynes King, man, oh man, with his feet, 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's going to have to throw the ball a little bit. They got Clemson in 2 weeks. We were talking before the show about how Florida LSU's that week. You also got Georgia Tech Clemson.
Yep.
Georgia Tech wants to send that message that they're real college football playoff contenders. They got to win that game at Georgia Tech. They're coming to Atlanta. Find a way to win that game, and it's all going to be on Haynes King's arm and legs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, we have some great games coming up. But before we head over to week 2, we want to just talk one overreaction from this weekend. One thing that we can look back on and say, oh, we were right. Or maybe, that might have actually been an overreaction. What is yours? What is your biggest overreaction from this weekend?
Outside the fact that I did say Alabama's dynasty is dead, and they are dead. Besides that one, it's not so much an overreaction, but more of a prediction. Florida is the best team in Florida. They will beat Miami and Florida State and still miss the college football playoff because how tough the SEC is.
Yeah.
And yet somehow, some way, Miami or Florida State will get into the playoffs because how soft the ACC is.
Could you imagine if Florida State were to make the playoff after the year they just had, after everybody was talking down on them? And this leads into my overreaction. I think Florida State can make real noise in the ACC. I know it was one game, but they manhandled Alabama. And when was the last time you can ever say that a team manhandled the Crimson Tide? It just doesn't happen. No. I don't care Saban. I don't care DeBoer. I don't care. It's still Alabama at the end of the day. Florida State manhandled them straight up. Gus Malzahn running the show. Something clicked for Florida State with Malzahn. Castellanos, they could do whatever they wanted against that Alabama defense. That defense was flying to the ball. They were physical. They were aggressive. Now, Florida State does have a tough schedule because they still have to play Miami at home. And then the last 4 games of the year are very tough for the Seminoles. At Clemson, at Florida, at NC State, and home against Virginia Tech. But that win against Alabama gives them some cushion because that is an incredible win on a resume if you are close in the playoff race. And if Florida State continues this, we're all going to look back on the preseason predictions and be like, man, we were dumb. Yeah. How did we miss this? We're going to have to evaluate this. I honestly could not believe what I was watching the other day. But I'm all in on Florida State at this point because, like I said, I've never seen a team just manhandle Alabama like that.
I mean, both sides of the trenches, and that's the key to Alabama football: defensive line, offensive line, and they had no answer for Florida State. Props to Florida State. They talked their crap and they backed it up, which is very, very impressive. And why now Florida State's number 1 in my power rankings when it's the ACC? Because there's no other choice. They got to be number 1 to me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And we'll see if they can keep this up. But we're going to move on. As we do here every single week, we have a rivalry spotlight presented by Josh. Josh, who are you spotlighting this week?
So don't yell at me. We are going to talk Kansas, Missouri, and we are going to talk Iowa, Iowa State. This is about one of those smaller rivalries that you don't think about or you may not even know about. So there was 2 options this week, and there was the I-35, which was UTSA and Texas State, or the one I picked, the Bayou Bucket Classic, which is Rice and Houston. This week's rivalry spotlight is on a Texas showdown you might know much about, the Bayou Bucket Classic between Houston and Rice. These 2 schools are just 5 miles apart, and they've met 46 times since the rivalry began in 1971. Houston leads the series 34-12, And while Rice won a thriller in double overtime 2 years ago, the Cougars have dominated. This year's matchup could be the last one for the foreseeable future, unfortunately, as both agree to take each other off the schedules with the way conference realignment works. Houston enters the game 13.5-point favorite, and I'm not saying to bet it, but I truly do believe Houston runs away with this game. I actually liked what I saw in their offense. I know it was Stephen F. Austin 27-0, and it's Stephen F. Austin, but there's something going to be clicking down there in Houston. There's no reason why Houston shouldn't be a contender in the Big 12, and I believe that Willie Fritz will get that turned around. So while Rice slowly has to adjust to their new offense, which is a highly spread, slow, control the ball type offense, where their head coach last week admittedly said maybe 60% of the playbook is in, I don't see them being able to come out with a win. And if you want to watch it, September 6th, 7 p.m. on ESPN+.
And if you watch it, just remember what Josh said. It's the rivalry spotlight, and you can reference right back to us. You're welcome. You're welcome, America. That's what we do here on this show. We're gonna start looking ahead to the games of this week, and every week we pick 6 games that we want to highlight, kind of talk about, predict, and we have some fun for the fans. We mentioned it last week, but we have a pick 'em. Josh, you want to explain to the fans what's going on? Here's our current leaderboard through the first week of the season.
Yep. So as we mentioned last week, it's just a 10-game pick 'em. You just pick the winner straight up, and these 4 individuals went out and took down the week. They went 8-2. There was a lot of us, including myself, that went 7-3. But shout out to Chad Jackson's 85, CW_Smith 20, Joey T. Knight, and Liam for all knocking that out. I know for a fact Liam is a writer at TWSN, and Joey T. Knight is one of my best friends. So shout out to them. Still a long way to go. So don't give up, Matt. You got a chance. 1-5 1 week. Yeah.
1-5, 1-5. I think I actually got 3 wins in this or something like that. So I did a little better, maybe. So it's okay. But yeah, everybody join it. If you haven't, make sure to keep making your picks at the end of the season. There could be a prize. We're not going to tell you if there is going to be one, but there could be. We're not going to tell you what it is either. So just make sure to keep joining. But we're going to actually get into the games now because we are a college football show. We have college football coming up. Now, the first game that we're going to highlight here is a fun one. We got Illinois taking on Duke. This is going to be a very fun game. I'm excited because both of these teams kind of came into the season quietly, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Duke won 9 games last year. A lot of people don't know that. Duke won 9 games. Duke, they're not known as a football school. They are a basketball school, fully. They won 9 games. Illinois won 10 games a year ago. A lot of people don't know that as well. What is your take on this game here?
First off, we are talking football, right? Not basketball?
No, not basketball.
Because when I saw this team originally, I literally was like, wait a minute, when do we start talking basketball here? But no, like you said, a lot of people didn't realize how good Manny Diaz had that Duke team last year. 9 wins on the cusp. Kind of floundered a little bit in the ACC play, but still 9 wins at Duke is really impressive. I know you mentioned kind of coming in quietly, Illinois, but I was screaming loud for Illinois. I thought they had a legit chance to win the Big Ten championship with how many players that they have returning. I love Luke Altmaier, and Brett Bielema is just an old school Big Ten kind of guy. When we look ahead to the matchup, as I mentioned, Illinois returning a lot of their starters, 9 on offense, only 5 of Duke's on defense. Illinois is bringing back all of their offensive linemen. That is key to me, in my opinion. The trenches, as we talked about with Florida State and Alabama, the trenches win games. Illinois is bringing back their 5 starters. However, don't sleep on Duke's Vincent Anthony Jr., who had 5 sacks last year, and juniors Wesley Williams, who had 8 sacks last year. They were their top 2 pass rushers to a very, very good defensive line. But when it's all said and done, my lean will be Illinois, and it's because they're 2-headed running back room of Aiden Laundrie. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, and Caden Fegan. I don't know if you've ever seen this kid play, Matt. 6'3", 250. I'm not hitting that guy 20 times a game.
No.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Check out, coach. That guy hits me one time. I'm done. I'll walk back to the water boy. Where you at?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And when I first started thinking about this game, right, everything's pointing to Illinois because they got the quarterback, right? They got Luke Altmaier. He's legit. Dude's legit. He's a legit Big Ten quarterback. As you mentioned, Illinois has the experience. They bring back their starters. They are the ranked team. I don't care about any of that. This is going to be the coming out party for the Duke Blue Devils this year.
Heard this story before, Matt.
No. Duke is actually going to win this game.
Okay.
And I'm not just going to come on here every week and make stupid predictions. I actually think they're going to win.
That's fair.
And there's one reason and one reason only. It's because of their quarterback. Darian Mensah from Tulane. The kid can play. If you haven't watched him, go watch his highlights. The kid can play. He is explosive. He makes this team dynamic. And quite frankly, I think Duke is going to shed the basketball school allegations here this weekend. They are going to beat the Fighting Illini, and they're going to make a case in the ACC this year. Go Blue Devils. Do not let me down like the Bruins did, please. Please. I can't hate on Duke like that. I can't. So I'm gonna need Duke to win this game.
Yeah, Mensah, as you mentioned, he's got that NFL size too.
He's great. No, he's great.
He's only a sophomore. This is obviously, as you mentioned, he came over from Tulane, so it's the first year in the Duke system. But what Manny Diaz has been doing there is very, very impressive. And people got to give him credit, because when Duke made that hire, I kind of laughed because I remember what went down in Miami, and it kind of didn't go as well as everybody hoped. To see him go back to the ACC, to a tougher school, I guess there's money flowing in the NIL down there for Duke, because they've turned it around quick, and I'm very impressed. But still give me the Illini.
Well, as I said last week, you'll be wrong. So
heard that before.
Duke, yeah. Well, we don't always repeat things on this show. So, but we're each gonna see what happens. That's gonna be a fun one. Next game we're gonna talk about is one of the rivalry games. We got Iowa taking on Iowa State. Now, this game every year is fun, and I don't know why they put it so early into the season. I would love for this game to be later in the year, personally. That's just me. I think these two teams they hate each other so much. I have a friend who's an Iowa fan, and anytime I even mention the word Cyclone, he gets mad at me. So I'm like, okay, is it that I've never been to Iowa, so I don't know, but I've seen the games. They look fun. The rivalry's great. I'm a little higher on Iowa than most people, as I mentioned in the pre-show. I do think that they can be a sleeper in the Big Ten. But I think this week's game is going to tell us a lot about both of these teams. But I do think that this game is bigger for Iowa State if they can get the win, because it gives them cushion through the rest of the year. Their schedule's not the hardest the rest of the season, if you look at it. But Iowa, on the other hand, they play Penn State, Oregon, Indiana. It's kind of a tough road for the Hawkeyes. So I think this is a bigger game for Iowa State. They're at home here. How do you think this plays out?
So obviously I'm going ISU. Like I said, I'm on the Rocco Beck Heisman train. I also believe that ISU is the best team in the Big 12, as I predicted in the beginning of the year. But one thing to keep in mind on this, and you talked about how the games are always really good. 1 point, 7 point, 3 point, 10 point, 1 point, 10 point, 3 point, and then a 39-point blowout in Matt Campbell's first year. Those were the scores difference in the games since Matt Campbell has came to ISU. Iowa has dominated, winning 6 of 8 games. They lead the series 47-24. But that's not going to matter. This game is in Iowa State. Iowa State fans are going to be loud, proud, just going crazy. And I still just can't get behind Iowa's offensive quote-unquote change after what I watched last week of a starting quarterback throwing for 44
I was just going to say he looked a little rough. But Xavier Williams was great. Their running back, he was great. He was great for them. He carried them to the win. I think the running game is going to be the difference. I think the running game is going to be the difference in this game. We'll see if Iowa can do this. I'm also going to go with Iowa State. I don't particularly think that this game is going to be the closest. I'm not going to say that they're going to blow out the Hawkeyes because I think Iowa's defense is still pretty good. Maybe a touchdown, keep it within the realm of kind of where all the other scores.
I'm gonna say I'll say it's a touchdown or less. I 100% agree. Just because, as you mentioned, Iowa's defense will never get blown out by anybody unless it's in Columbus versus Ohio State or some weird like high octane offense. But this is the kind of style that they're gonna want to play, and this is the game where Rocco needs to step up, make those plays. And one more thing about Iowa State: if you haven't watched Iowa State play yet, they have the coolest nickname for a player, Big Citrus. Hands down, Big Citrus. Dominique Orange. But the fact that it's just Big Citrus on the tackle, Big Citrus on the sack, I love the nickname.
So what I'm hearing is if Iowa State wins the championship, you got to get a Big Citrus jersey.
I might get a Big Citrus tattoo.
There we go. Hey, yeah, he said it, not me, everyone. Everyone hold him to that, clip it. I don't care. He's getting the tattoo if Iowa State wins. But we're in agreement. Iowa State's going to win this game. Let's move on to another game that hurts my heart a little bit. It's Baylor and SMU. As if anyone who's followed this show, I picked Baylor to make the college football playoff. I picked them to win the Big 12. We're going to do some Men in Black stuff here. Gone. Never happened. I never said any of that. The articles that I wrote are gone now. It never happened. I am so disappointed in Baylor. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you how disappointed I am in this team. I thought the defense was fixed a little bit. I thought Dave Aranda got this unit going. He didn't. Jackson Arnold, as you mentioned earlier, just ran all over this defense. I mean, what was happening last week? Baylor couldn't stop them. And as you mentioned, the Baylor offense was good. I told you Sawyer Robertson was a good quarterback. I told you that. But the defense let me down. I can't do this anymore with Baylor. I can't. It's only been a week, and I'm already in a toxic relationship with the Baylor Bears. I can't do this. I'm out on Baylor. Kevin Jennings is going to run all over this team. SMU is going to win. And fun fact, SMU has not beaten Baylor since 1986. That ends this weekend. The Mustangs will be riding off into the sunset with a win over the Bears because I'm done with the Bears, not picking them again this season.
I'm the complete opposite. Give me the Baylor Bears, man.
Do not do this to me, Josh.
This is a bounce back game. How many times have we seen this in college football? You come out flat in week 1, and you make some adjustments and you fix things in week 2. Sawyer Robinson is going to have a phenomenal game. Baylor is going to find to run the ball a little bit better, just a little bit better. Don't get me wrong. They're missing Pendergrass, absolutely. But they're going to run the ball just a little bit better, and Baylor is going to take down SMU.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But I'm telling you, you are falling for the Bears trap that I fell for, and you're going to regret it. I'm telling you. I would love it if Baylor were to win this game, but they're not going to. SMU is going to win the game.
I disagree. I think it's a bounce back spot. And don't get me wrong, I get it's at SMU too. The crowd is going to be absolutely lively. It's another old Southwest Conference throwback rivalry. But Baylor comes out on top, just like they always do versus SMU.
Man, what a difference a week makes. And I was all high on Baylor and Robertson. You were all low on Robertson. Now you love them. I hate it. I don't know. We're not talking Baylor. I can't. They hurt me too much last weekend. I can't do it. SMU's going to win. You're wrong. That's the end of the story. Going on to the next game here. It's Kansas and Missouri. Now, this game is really interesting because I think both teams have a legit case on why they might win this game.
Good.
Both have interesting players to me. Now, we all know that Kansas's offense is pretty good with Jalen Daniels, right? But can we talk a minute about their transfer wide receiver, Emmanuel Henderson Jr.? Dude went off last week. Went off. 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He just looked like he couldn't be stopped. And he looks to me like the perfect receiver for Daniels. And this Kansas offense looks awesome. But let's not forget about the defense. They have some speed to this defense. Leroy Harris, 2 sacks in 2 games. I think he has the ability to be a game changer in this game. Now, the Mizzou crowd is going to be a little rowdy. We all know this, right? But this game is going to be a statement to me. I think it's a chance for Daniels to be like, I could be the best quarterback here. Kansas is legit, blah, 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 right? Where are you going with this game? Because I'm very curious, because I know you have talked about Daniels before. You were very impressed with him in week 0. Are you picking Kansas to upset the Tigers here, or are you going with the Tigers?
So first thing, I know I talked about how I was going to move Kansas up my power rankings. Problem was moving Kansas up my power rankings was the teams that they played. I had to hold that against them. It's not great teams. However, their defense is limited 7 points, 14 total points in 2 games. Don't matter who you're playing. That's pretty darn impressive. I am going Kansas. I don't know if it's just the whole Missouri bias in my brain of they're just not quote-unquote SEC football. They're still Big 12 football. But I kind of agree with you that this is one of those moments where Kansas as a whole, and I know it's Lance Lepload. I just watched him. He's a Wisconsin project. He coached under Barry Alvarez. Fantastic coach. This is the message of him sending, we're Kansas, we're for real, and you have to take us seriously. So I see Jalen Daniels making enough plays. As you mentioned, Emmanuel Henderson having some good offense. Cam Pickett also. He has over 100 receiving yards and multiple touchdowns on the year. But Daniel Hishaw, the running back, that is who I think you need to keep an eye out on as well. A nice 1-2 punch. Jalen also hasn't had to use his legs. He will this week. But I do like Kansas in a close one. I'll say pull the upset in Mizzou.
We can agree to disagree, because as much as I want to love Kansas, as much as I want Daniels to make the statement, I'm going with the Tigers. I think this is their year. They're going to prove people like you wrong. They're going to prove you wrong. They are an SEC team. They're going to prove you wrong here. They looked pretty good last week. I know that it was against lesser competition, right? But this is a chance for them also to prove it. You know, their quarterback kind of goes down on the first snap of the game, Sam Horn. That was kind of a brutal injury. I don't know what's going to happen with him. He was on crutches. But Bo Pribula entered the game. This man proceeded to throw for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, rushed for 60 yards and a touchdown. He looked pretty good. Accuracy, he could throw the ball. I know he doesn't have the experience that Daniels has, but I think he's going to rise up this weekend. And I think that Mizzou crowd is going to be the big difference here. I like the Tigers in a 3-point win.
And I will mention, it would be nice to see Bill have a nice little swan song after he kind of took some heat leaving Penn State last year during the playoffs. But with the way the transfer window worked, he had to leave. And now he's at Mizzou getting his shot. And don't sleep on Ahmad Hardy at a transfer from UL Monroe. That boy can run.
Yeah.
Played as UL Monroe in college football and got that dude a Heisman. He can run.
There we go. Shouting him out here. Let's go. All right, that's another game that we differ on. Now, this game, I know we've talked about off air. I think both of us had a struggle picking this game.
Yes.
Arizona State, Mississippi State. You know, I'm still getting used to the fact that Arizona State is in the Big 12. Every time I see Arizona State, I just think Pac-12, because that's what I grew up on, right? Like, we all grew up on Pac-12, Arizona State. So when I think Arizona State going on the road to play an SEC team, I don't care who it is. It's in my mind, it's a little tough, right? SEC, the big bad SEC, right? But Arizona State is the better team heading into this game.
Yes.
How do you see this game playing out? Because this game intrigues me a little bit from both sides.
So, as I've mentioned before, I'm not the biggest believer in Arizona State just because I think it's a 2-man show. I think it is Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson. Mind you, that is not a bad show to have. Last week, Sam ran through, did everything. Jordan Tyson, 12 catches, 141 yards. But I feel like if you have a good defensive coordinator, you can game plan to slow that down a little bit. And I don't know if it's just hearing the cowbells in my ear or what, but I have no explanation on why. But my gut is telling me Jeff Levy and Mississippi State gets the upset over Arizona State this weekend.
I love the fact that we are in agreement. This is one of the few times that I feel like you and I are in full agreement on this. Mississippi State had 186 rushing yards last week, right? They have a duo, Davon Booth and Floof Bothwell. I apologize if I messed his name up, but this gives this team some flexibility going into the backfield. If they can establish the run early, it can neutralize the Arizona State pass rush, and they can control the pace of this game. And if you control the pace of this game against Arizona State, I don't think that the Sun Devils can come back and win this game. These two teams played last year. Arizona State was blowing them out for a minute. Mississippi State then came back. They almost came all the way back. This time, Scadaboo's not here. He's not saving the day for the Sun Devils. This isn't in Arizona. This is in Starksville. Cowbell's going to be ringing. It's going to be going crazy here. Ring that cowbell. Let's ring the cowbell because Mississippi State upsets Arizona State, as you mentioned. I'm fully on board. The Bulldogs are going to shine this week, and they're going to knock off Arizona State at home in front of that fan base. And this might be one of the biggest wins in recent memory for this Mississippi State team because Mississippi State has kind of fallen on hard times the last few years. I think this win helps them bounce back a little bit.
Yeah, they haven't been the same since, unfortunately, Mike Leach passing, which obviously set college football back and future college football Hall of Fame head coach. So it would be nice for the people of Mississippi State, even though if their number one fan that everybody knows because of Barstool has me blocked because I call him Buckeye Brandon, but that's a different story.
Yeah, Mississippi State, ring that cowbell. Maybe if they win, maybe we'll get a cowbell on the show. Who knows? We'll see. Who knows what's going to happen on this show? We're going to go to one more game that we're going to highlight here, and this is the biggest of them all. We can finally talk about your Michigan Wolverines. The floor is yours. Are the Wolverines going into Norman to win this weekend?
No, they're not. I love what I saw out of Bryce Underwood. It wasn't the greatest game, but it was one you would take from a freshman. But I will put the asterisk. That was New Mexico State. Their defense is absolutely horrible. Shout out to Justice Haynes. Phenomenal debut. Thanks, Alabama, for that, by the way. 16 carries, 159 yards, 3 touchdowns. For Bryce, 21 of 31, 251, a touchdown, no interceptions. But I just feel that Brent Venables, who a lot of people have forgotten how good of a defensive coordinator he truly is. When Clemson was at their best, it wasn't Dabo running the defense. It was Brent. How good Brent was as a defensive coordinator. He's calling plays again in Oklahoma. That crowd, Norman, it means a lot. Oklahoma needs this win. Brent needs this win to keep this job. That being said, I almost feel it's a little bit similar, and don't shoot me. I'm not comparing the two teams on the rankings level, but it feels almost similar to what Ohio State and Texas was last week because we've got all this hype on John Mateer coming in. Everybody's been talking. There's countless people on ESPN saying he's their sleeper Heisman pick. He had a phenomenal week one, 30 of 37, 392 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus a rushing touchdown. He's coming in with his offensive coordinator, so he knows the system. And then you have an 18-year-old Bryce Underwood who has one game under his belt. Arguably, Julian saying kind of mindset. It will be which quarterback doesn't make that big mistake. And unfortunately, just for me, Bryce just seems like that guy who's got that dog in him that is going to let one pass flow a little too hard or a little too quick and just makes that one crucial mistake trying to make the big play.
Yeah, and once again, man, I agree with everything you just said. You basically took what I was going to say here. A freshman quarterback going into Norman against a Brent Venables defense, that doesn't sound like a recipe for success. I don't care how good Underwood. I do not care how good he is. That is a tough ask from a freshman.
Yeah.
This team looked pretty good last week, Michigan. Their passing attack is revamped a little bit. I think they had 2 games all of last season that had more than 200 yards passing. They already have that. He's already looked better than anything Michigan had last year. So Michigan fans, don't fret if you were to lose this game, because Underwood is still the real deal. He's still going to be very good. Now, I expect the Sooners are going to exploit the Michigan pass defense a little bit. I'm not going to say New Mexico burned them, but there were moments where I was like, okay, Michigan's pass defense might be a little weaker than I thought. And now the Sooners are coming in with that high offense. We'll see what happens, but I think Oklahoma wins the game. I think this fan base is ready to burst after multiple losing seasons. I think, like you said, Venables needs this win. I would argue this could be one of the biggest wins of his tenure. I know they beat Texas a while back, a couple years ago, but I think he needs this, because if not, he's on the hot seat, in my opinion. This Oklahoma team has underperformed with him. This could set them off really, really nicely. Boomer Sooner. I'm going with Oklahoma. I can't see a freshman going on the road and winning this game.
I unfortunately agree, and I hope I'm wrong. Boy, do I hope I'm wrong. So Michigan fans, don't come at me. I'm wearing the Michigan shirt still today. I am going to be wearing Michigan on Saturday. I'm going to be cheering and pulling as loud as I normally do. But it just seems, like I said, a little bit too much for an 18-year-old to go into Norman and come out victorious.
I mean, look what happened last week. I picked Clemson, and look what happened. Very different circumstances.
Maybe it played a little bit wrong. Because
maybe a little different circumstances, because Nussmeier is a lot more experienced than Underwood, but still though, we'll see. So before we end the show, we just want to do a little rapid fire here. What do you think? What do you think here, Josh? Who do you think wins all these games down here? We got UConn and Syracuse. What do you think?
Yeah, so first off, again, we're a football show. Even though it's UConn Syracuse, this is just the final 4, by the way, of the ESPN pick'em that we'll be doing. I'm going to take Syracuse at home in the Dome, bounce back after last week's horrible performance. I love North Carolina State over UVA in an ACC non-conference game. Great job, ACC, for having too many teams. West Virginia beating Ohio with the West Virginia home crowd. I don't know if you saw that whole ordeal, but apparently West Virginia fans have basically bought Ohio season tickets because they were so worried about the prices being raised that it was cheaper to get season tickets than it was just to buy a single ticket. So West Virginia fans are going to be flocked out there in Athens. And then Vandy and Virginia Tech. I know everybody's darling is Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, but my Lord, does Virginia Tech need this win? Because if not, I'm telling the head coach, pack it up. You're done. 2 games, you're done. Because that was a horrible for South Carolina.
They had that game. There was moments I thought Virginia Tech was going to beat South Carolina. They didn't. They let it go. I think Vanderbilt wins, personally. Vanderbilt's a sleeper a little bit. I don't know if they're gonna do much, but I kind of like them. Nah, we're not going back to sleep. No, we're not doing all that. But these are our picks for the week here. Hopefully this time next week, mine will have more green check marks than it did last week. The 1-5 record was not my brightest moment. That's okay. We all make mistakes, but like I said, it's okay. We forget Baylor. It doesn't matter. We don't need to deal with any of that. Is there any last thing you want to tell the audience before we get out of here, Josh?
I want to say again and reiterate with the whole Mississippi State thing. I get it. We're kind of both being a little bit cute, but it's just a gut feel. And sometimes you got to trust your gut when it comes to these kind of things. And I think Mississippi State has what it takes to get it done at home.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the cowbell's going to be ringing, as we said. But make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below during the shows going forward, everyone. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, for anybody who watches this later on. This is the TWSN Tailgate Show. We're very excited every week on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We'll be here breaking down the biggest games, biggest news of the college football season. For now, I am Matt Levine. This is Josh Northcutt. We'll see you next time.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well, you better know now because it's the place